In this video, we're going to take an existing Rhino 3D model that's being used with VRay, and we're going to implement a sunlight system as our primary lighting mechanic. So the first step is I'm going to take a look at my model in my perspective window, and I have windows and walls on this side. It's a partial model, not completely built out. But I'm going to position the sun to be coming in these windows, and I'm going to set up a viewpoint to work with, let's say something along these lines to let me see the effect of the sun. And I'm going to take that perspective view, set my camera lens to be 24 millimeters, and let's save this using the named view command. So I'll save this, let's call this lighting test viewpoint. And now I can move that view around, and at any point I can bring it back by double clicking on named views. So the next step is, let's create our daylighting system. I have here my VRay compact menu, and I'm going to go to my lights and pick open sun creation panel. I'm going to choose not a date, time, location method for controlling my light, but a more simple manual control. And that lets me set north, south, east, west in my, essentially from my top view. This is the projection that I would have, and then an azimuth an altitude of the angle that is coming in from. So I'm going to not set an altitude of 90, which would be directly above the building without light coming in the windows. I'm not going to set an altitude of 0, which would be sunset as the sun is going under the horizon, but I'll choose, let's say, around 45 degrees. And I'm going to say, okay, I can't really judge yet the angle in this view. I'm going to accept position. Let me click a location. And what happens is this light icon gets deposited here. Now notice I have my gumball turned on, so when I select my object, I'm getting move and rotate gizmos. However, if I want to change the direction of this light, I don't want to rotate it. I want to use my editing controls to change that light. But first I'm going to go to my top view and take a look at this. The light direction is coming from the cubic side in the direction of the arrow direction pointer sign. So it's coming in the wrong direction. It's coming in past my windows, not into my windows. And so to remedy that, I'm going to go to my edit on my sun, and my sun position north, south, east, west aligns with my top view. So you can see that this angle is the angle that that icon is pointing. So I'm going to change that angle to be coming in from, let's say, the southwest. Click OK, and you'll notice now that that light is now directed to come in from that angle. I'm going to return to my lighting test viewport and drop my named view tab, let's say over here. So now I have it docked. I'm going into my VRay asset editor, and under my settings, let's expand this to the right, I'm going to look for my environment tab. And my background of my environment, I'm going to click on this texture slot. You'll notice it is blue and gray check, which means there is a texture in it, and the checkbox enabled next to it means that my background is using this texture. If I click on that slot, it brings me to an environmental texture. This is a default image-based texture that's kind of white highlights and black lowlights and gray midtones. I want to change this. I'm going to click on the icon to the left of bitmap and choose sky. And then very importantly, under the sun field, I'm not going to use my Rhino document sun, which is a default sun that comes packaged into Rhino scenes, but rather I'm going to pick sunlight. And I'll only see sunlight if I've made my VRay sunlight object. But this will tell the background to use my sky, to derive a sky dome from the direction of my light. The last thing I need to check in my settings for VRay is my camera settings, my exposure value. Let's set this more at 14, and we're going to do a test render. I'm going to click to render. I'm in this viewport. I should see daylighting coming in, and there I see it. I see sunlight hitting my floor and somewhat of a flat lighting scene, but I'm getting daylight coming in. If that number were to have stayed at 10 for the exposure value and I were to render, you'll see that I get an overexposed scene. So my sun is very, very bright. I need to adjust my camera value to be less sensitive. And the higher this exposure value goes, let's go higher to 16, the less light is going to be let into my camera. So 16 is going to be underexposed, 10 was overexposed. I think 13.5 may be our magic number for a brightly lit space. Notice, of course, all my materials are white neutral material. That's going to project more light. So you may need to change your camera settings once you change your materials. If I want a new location for that light or a new direction, I select the icon. I go to my edit. I'm going to make this come in a little lower in the sky and a little bit sharper angle into my space. And let's set this back to our lighting test. And when I hit render, I should get deeper sunlight. So now I can see the sun is reaching deeper into the space. It's lower in the sky. The tone of the sky dome, the extra light coming in from all parts of my sky is getting a little warmer at this time of day. I can see it's a bit orange in tone. And that's an introduction for daylighting in Rhino using the VRay rendering engine.